I will be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all of the difference. In our lifetime, we will travel many roads, some long, winding, some short and brief, and still others that may lead us into the unknown. But there is one road that waits for us all. That is the road less traveled. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your humble host, Dennis Carroll, and this is your other humble host, Mr. Gerald Fountain. How you doing, sir?
Good. Glad to be here.
All right. We're going to have another episode. This is episode 6
Oh,
of The
my.
Road Less Traveled. We're getting on up there. We're racking them up. Number 6 here. 6-pack tonight there, Gerald, actually. Yes, sir. And we got some good topics tonight. You got any announcements you want to make, sir? You got what you got coming up next this week?
Oh, well, we're planning on doing the Night Owl Lounge Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Central on our channel, Midwest Night Watchers. And then Saturday, we'll probably be doing a premiere of the Geezer Geek Squad. That'll be on Robert Bauer's channel and our channel, our second channel, which is Geezer Geeks. And then Sunday, we have Shannon of Chicago. So she's a local gal, so to speak, for us. And she's going to be telling some paranormal and ghost experiences she had. So that'll be Sunday at 6 p.m. on Midwest Night Watchers.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'll definitely want to watch that. That sounds very interesting. I've got coming up Wednesday night, I've got on Hunting the Shadows, we're going to be doing a show on Baba Yaga. Remember her?
Oh,
The old
yeah.
gal, Baba Yaga, and the Witch of the Wood. And then Friday night on Paranormal Point of View, we're going to be doing a little talk on fallen angels, demons, and aliens a little bit, what their real connection is. So we're going to call that the demonic connection with aliens. And that's Friday night. And of course, next Wednesday, uh, next week, not this week, but the next week from this Wednesday, will be my special 2-hour seminar on self-defense against the darkness, part 2. And we're gearing up for that, so it should be an interesting week next week too as well. And I want to say hello to John Fortman. How you doing? And of course, Midwest Night Watchers is in here. And let's see who else we got. Wizard Moon and Monica Davis, Red Pill Preacher. And starting to kind of load up in here. Good. We want to see some more people coming in. Matter of fact, we're getting. By the way, I'm gonna say this, Gerald. I'm celebrating 800 subscribers on Hunting the Shadows, and we're pushing onward to 9. Okay.
All right.
Well over 8, so we're pushing onward to that. So I'm celebrating that tonight. And Sharon Lane, good to have you here. And I want to say one more thing. I have a lot of mailing to do this week. Okay, folks. Gotta mail your stuff out to you that you've ordered. And I'll probably be at the post office tomorrow. I better pack a lunch, I guess. I'm gonna probably be there a while. But anyway, I got a lot of that to out. Got a lot of that to mail out tomorrow. So I'm gonna be one busy beaver guy here. Yes, sir. And hello, John Temperine and Gina. Let's see what we got. We got slowly coming in here. All right. So what?
Uh-oh. I'm not sure what happened, but Dennis did have some storms rolling through tonight. So hopefully he'll come back on in a little while. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and talk until he shows up. Or glad to see everybody in chat. I've been trying to say hi to y'all, and Did anybody catch our show with Jesus Payon on Sunday? That was an awesome show.
I'm back.
You're back. All right.
I don't know what happened there. I got waylaid by some time travelers or something. I don't know what happened.
Well, I noticed your voice was getting a little squirrely on the mic, so I was wondering if you were going to lock up or something.
Oh yeah, how's it sound now?
Sounds good.
Okay, I might have hit that with my arm. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what knocked me completely off there, but anyway.
Oh, it
Kyle
happens.
Smith, Alan Spencer, and Roger Black. Go ahead, sir. What do we got on tap for tonight?
Well, tonight on the Road Less Traveled, we're going to be talking about the Alaskan Triangle and everything about it.
Okay, the Triangles of Doom, huh? And
because everybody
there are
usually
places like that all over the world. Yeah, there are places like that, Joe, all over the world. Not just Alaska. Of course, that's a well-known one. But there are like the what they call the Hoodoo Sea, and I think there's like even some over certain areas in the states are triangles, the lower states. There's the Michigan Triangle, Lake Michigan Triangle. So you've got, it's not just the Bermuda Triangle. Of course, I've done a lot of extensive research on the Bermuda Triangle. I'm going to say something about the Bermuda Triangle. I guess it's going to get some people mad at me, but I'm going to say it anyway. You know me, and that never stopped me before. But the thing is, most of that is a lot of legend. Okay, I found that in a lot of my research on the Bermuda Triangle. A lot of it, I think, is just legend, old sea legends that have grown up around certain areas like that. Although there are some legitimate mysteries in the Bermuda Triangle, but no more really than in certain other places, But if I were going to pick out something to me that was one of the most interesting triangles of doom, that would definitely be the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that, everybody usually focuses on the Bermuda Triangle, but the Alaskan Triangle is a lot more mysterious. I mean, it's like 3 times the incident that the Bermuda Triangle has. I mean, there's 200 people, 200 planes go missing every year in the Bermuda Triangle, or not the Bermuda, the Alaskan Triangle. I'm sorry. 200 planes a year.
Oops, trying to get it up here. A second. A little picture.
Not to mention 20,000 people go missing in Alaska.
Mm-hmm. I'm losing you there, Gerald. Your sound's cutting out, sir.
Oh, well, I don't know. Everything seems fine on my end. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the internet.
I don't know. I'm losing their sound on you a little bit there. Okay. Go ahead, talk. I think you're back now.
All right. How about that? Is that better? I upped my volume a little bit.
Yeah, let me get my picture back up here. There we go. All right. That's the Alaskan Triangle there. That's a good facsimile of it there. It's about the shape that it is. It goes from Port Barrow down to Anchorage, and also it goes to what is that other place down there? Juneau. That's Juneau, right? Okay. Yeah. So it goes to different points and everything. Well, I lost Gerald there. We're having some weird difficulties tonight. I don't know what's going on with that. And he's trying to get back on here. Hold on just a second. There he is. I'll put you back on the stage with me here, sir.
Well, they said I was frozen, so I dipped out and came back in to see if that would change anything.
Yeah. Something evidently doesn't want us to talk about the triangles of doom tonight. Evidently. Okay. Let's
what
see.
we were talking about before, there is a lot of triangles around the world. I mean, you have the Devil's Triangle up by Japan. You have them, like you said, up by Michigan, in the Great Lakes, down the Gulf. I mean, almost every area in the world has a triangle somewhere. And we have 3 or 4 of them in the United States alone. We have the Dogman Triangle, we have the Bridgewater Triangle, but the Alaskan by far, I think, is the most mysterious.
There's been what? How many disappearances in that triangle, Gerald? You got a number on that?
20,000 people have disappeared. And like I said, 200 planes go down every year in the Alaskan Triangle.
My gosh, 20,000 people.
Yes.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Wasn't there one of them was a U.S. senator, wasn't it? Or had been
the leader of the House of Representatives was on a plane that disappeared over the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah, I remember
that was in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
Hale Boggs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that very famous case of that. It was in it disappeared inside the Alaskan Triangle. I remember that well.
They searched for weeks for him.
My friend Ken Gerhart, did a show up there. He did a TV show. I don't know if you ever watched that, Gerald, but it's called
I haven't.
Missing in Alaska. Missing in Alaska. Remember that? Yeah, that was a very interesting show. I'm going to tell you something about Alaska and the upper state there. That is a very strange place anyway. Okay, you got some really freaky stuff going on up there. Of course, you got the midnight sun, you got 6 month long nights and 6 month long days. You got it's a very strange land in some aspects. And I remember one of the most famous things, I think this happened inside the triangle. I don't know if you're familiar with the case, but there was a whole village of Eskimos people, the Inuit people, that disappeared up there. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to these people. And you remember that case, Cheryl?
I've read about it. I don't know much about it.
Well, they I think happened back in the 1890s or something, somewhere back in the 18th century, late 18th century. And the Mounties, the Royal Canadian Mounties, had something to do with some of this too. But they supposedly found this Eskimo village completely devoid of people. Now, it wasn't a large village, but it was pretty good size. I mean, it might have been a village of around a couple of hundred people, something like that. But anyway, they all mysteriously disappeared. I mean, nobody knows what happened to them. And even here's the interesting part: even the bodies in the graveyard were gone. Bodies in the graves in the graveyard.
Wow,
very weird stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, Alaska's always
strange
had
stuff,
a
and
weird.
you know that Alaska is a very.
I think we got. I think we have.
Alaska is a hotbed for UFO activity. A lot.
Yeah, we got a couple cases of UFOs we can talk about. I mean, there's so much that we can talk about. I mean,
I'll show some more pictures.
Besides the cryptids.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you got a lot of that too.
We have cryptids, we have Bigfoot, skinwalkers. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. We have Thunderbird sightings. There's supposedly woolly mammoths and dinosaurs in the tundra. That is the Douglas C-54, I believe. And that's one of the pretty famous ones that it went down in 1950.
Mm-hmm. That is a village there. Looks like a seaside village.
That's Port Chatham, where you have the Bigfoot sightings.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's around that island.
Yep.
Now, there's another ship that disappeared there, is that right?
Yep, that's the SS Princess Sophia that disappeared, and actually is one of the most northern catastrophes that's happened on the water. They lost 364 people that day when that ship disappeared.
There's your Bigfoot. Boy, he looks mad about something, doesn't he? He looks he looks like he's kind of PO'd about something. I wouldn't want to get him that mad at me, definitely not.
That's the northern Bigfoot. There's actually two of them in Alaska. One's a southern Bigfoot that kind of looks like what we normally see, but then there's a northern one that kind of looks like a Yeti. And that's the Sophia again.
Well, I was doing an interview today, and I did mention that would be one of the one I've always wanted to go look for. Definitely, is the Yeti. Very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting cryptid. And
if you travel to the Himalayas, looking for the Yeti, maybe you'll find Shangri-La.
Oh yeah, might find Shangri-La. I might not come back if I went.
You find a Yeti, you might not come back.
Yeah. If Yeti finds me, I definitely probably wouldn't come back. But anyway, and that's another ship there that disappeared. Is that right?
That is
I don't know why this thing is going. I'm trying to.
That was actually the black pyramid that they found, or supposedly the military has underground in Alaska.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because there's something freaky. I mentioned that to you the other day about that black pyramid. Now you sent me that picture. I've never seen that picture before. I never really seen a picture of a black pyramid. Okay. Actually, I was playing around just trying to do a little remote viewing thing. Okay. Just checking it out. And that's an image I picked up in my mind from out of nowhere. I don't know why I picked this up, but I could very clearly see that under the water, under the ocean somewhere. And it was like emitting some kind of, I'm going to say, vibration of some sort, because fish would not go around it. I think they were tropical fish. I don't know where this was at. Okay. And then I mentioned that to you. Remember me telling you about that?
Yes.
And that's the kind of a vision I got of that. And that looks very much like what I saw in my mind's eye. That picture right there that you sent me, that everybody's looking at on screen there. And that is freaky because you're talking about weird coincidence. That is strange. That I visioned that one day, and then a couple of days later, you send me a picture of it. Okay. that kind of was freaky. But I wonder if that's up in Alaska or the heck that's supposed to be, but there is. I've been doing some research on black pyramids here since this happened, and there's supposed to be one that was. I didn't know about this. That was sighted somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle, and then I think there's another one further north that was supposedly seen around the Alaskan Triangle. Have you read anything about that?
Well, this one that we're talking about tonight is in Alaska, and it's underground, and it was discovered by a CIA or a government op officer that found a map that had a uncharted territory on it for Alaska. And then he started digging into it because he got curious about it, and he came across somebody that knew there was a black pyramid underneath the ground in the Alaskan Triangle.
Well, there supposedly have been several of these black pyramids found all over the world, different areas of the world. That's an interesting part. What we're looking at here?
That is supposedly the Alaskan version of the Loch Ness Monster. They have their own in a lake in Alaska.
Oh,
And that's supposed to be ice on top of
it's like
the,
a typical
and there's videos of it actually
sea serpent.
moving and waving.
That is very strange looking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
And that's
let's
supposedly
see
the
what we
same
got
creature
here.
with his head sticking out of the water with his long neck.
Okay, yeah, that is wild. Huh? That looks like, like some of these things they've said about the Loch Ness Monster, which is another
Yes.
thing on my bucket list. We won't get in my bucket list tonight. My bucket list is very long. But anyway, that does look a little bit like, you hear about him raising up, looking around sometimes, or her, whichever the case may be. That is kind of weird. Now, where is this at? Is off the coast of Alaska or
No, that's actually
a
in a
lake
lake
or
inland.
what?
That's in a lake in the triangle. But there's
So this is
actually
a
like
lake
5 or
monster.
6
Okay,
there's
got
5
you.
or 6 really good accounts and videos of people catching a sea serpent or lake serpent, however you want to say it, that looks like Loch Ness Monster, kind of like the videos. So that's the not surveyed map that CIA operative found and thought it was really strange. Why would that section be not surveyed or no information on it?
Yeah. That is a big chunk of land, is it not?
Yep. I mean, it's pretty huge. And right in the Alaskan Triangle.
What's this? Was some kind of ship here we're looking at?
That was from flight 1628, where Captain Terry Roche drew what he saw as a UFO that he encountered on his flight from. He was going from Paris to Tokyo, and he flew right through the Bermuda Triangle with a 747 cargo plane, mind you, and that's the scale that he said that UFO was compared to his plane, and he described it as being walnut shaped.
So the radiation, and it was that big compared to the plane that you see in this drawing. Is that what it is?
Yes, that's what he was saying. That's
That
how
is
big that
huge.
thing was. It said it looked like it was like an aircraft carrier or larger compared to his plane.
This is a very famous photograph coming up next here. The Thunderbird.
Yep.
That's
actually
very well known
a
photo. I
picture.
think that this is actually not the real thing. This is a model, supposedly, of
Yes.
the size of it. But look at
That's a
that. I mean, that
Teraton.
is huge. Yeah.
That's a Teraton, which is actually the closest thing that we have to a Thunderbird. But some Thunderbirds are actually reported to be, 35-foot wingspan.
That's like a small Cessna or airplane. I mean, that big.
And that's what a lot of reports are. They
That
have
is
these bush
huge.
planes that go in and out of the Alaska, for hunters and all kinds of stuff. And they said this bird, whatever it is just as big or dwarfs these little airplanes, these bush planes.
Yeah. Cryptid right there, Charles. It has always fascinated me. I've done a lot of research on it as well. The Thunderbird is fascinating. Fascinating thing, and it has always been my own personal thought. The actual real Thunderbird may have been something like a pterodactyl. You know what I mean?
Right.
Possibility.
Well, there's all kinds of Native American folklore and oral history that they passed down of Thunderbirds. I mean, that's where we get the name from, is from the Native Americans.
Yeah, and It could be that they saw something like a pterodactyl, and of course, being it was flying, would think it was a bird. You know what I mean? It would
Yep.
be conjectured to be a bird. And that may be how it originally started. That's what I've always wondered about. Every legend has a foundation of truth to it. It has a beginning and an origin. And I think that might possibly be what happened with the Thunderbird, that maybe they saw a living dinosaur that would attribute something like that. But there have been certain birds. I think there's an eagle. I cannot remember the name of it. Was it the Fisher eagle or something like that? It was huge. I mean, it was larger than a condor. And if those still existed, that fit the bill of a Thunderbird too.
Right. I mean, there's a very famous case of a Thunderbird in the 1970s, where in Illinois here, not too far from where we live, that actually Thunderbird picked up a small child, and the mother came out and was yelling and throwing stuff at it to get it to release its son. I mean, it already had it off the ground when the mother came out screaming.
I've seen film of eagles picking up small deer. Have you seen that? I'm sure, Joe.
Yeah, eagles try to
If
get
you can
stuff
pick,
off of the bluffs and cliffs, and goats.
if you can pick up a deer, you could certainly pick up a child, no doubt about it. But there wasn't there a very famous Thunderbird picture, kind of like that one. Remember the one with the cowboys posing with it, where they supposedly killed a pterodactyl? What it was, actually. They had the head, and they were holding it. It's supposed to be a fake, but there are some people that swear they have actually seen the real photograph of this thing. And but nobody can find it. It's another one of those Mandela effect kind of things. Everybody remembers it, but nobody can find this thing. And it's not in any magazines. They have done thorough searches for this photograph. I know you've seen a mock-up of it. It's a cowboy kneeling down next to his head. Yeah, and well, they say that there was a real photograph, but nobody can find it. But everybody remembers this photograph. That's weird, isn't it? I wonder.
Yeah, that was actually that was in the 1800s, I believe. And it was printed in the Arizona Gazette or something. And it was a bunch of cowboys or miner looking kind of guys. And they all had the wings stretched out, and one was holding the head up.
But they went to find that picture. They're trying to original, or trying to go through magazines. Where did it come from? And nobody could find it. And they think that what we have now is just a mock-up of that. Somebody made it, But there was supposed to be an original picture, and nobody can find it. But people remember it. Remember seeing it years and years and years ago. That's freaky. That's kind of a Mandela effect thing. Now, what we got here, we got a little detailed drawing of that UFO that we saw earlier.
Yeah, that's the one from the flight 1628, and that's actually supposed to be the drawing that Captain Tarochi filled out for the government or FFA when he did his report.
Now, this was something around Fairbanks, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good detailed thing there. And of course, this map coming up here is very interesting too. I can get it to show here. Okay, that's the port.
So that's Port Chapman, and that was the picture that you showed earlier of the canning. It was actually a cannery for the fishing village, and it was attacked
the cannery.
by Bigfoot. Yeah.
Now, some of those islands, there's the Barren Islands down there at the bottom. Some of those other islands right off of Port Chapman, some of the supposed to be some very hot Bigfoot activity in those islands, right?
Yep. That's what they got the Hairy Man report that supposedly terrorized Port Chatham, and they closed that down. and there's been a lot of documentaries where people go there and check out the building. The buildings and stuff are still there, but nobody will go there and actually live in that village anymore.
That was a very strange case. Very strange. I read about that. Very interesting. And I want to say something right here, and I was talking about this on that interview I did today. There are different sizes. There are different types of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever name you want to call him, in different areas. Among the largest of the varieties is supposed to be the ones in Alaska and Canada. The further north you go, the bigger they seem to get in that respect. Of course, you've got, and here's the interesting correlation with that, Gerald. Think about this. The same things goes with bears. Have you noticed that? The further south the bears are, the smaller they are. The further north they are, the bigger they get. You get the Kodiak and the grizzly and the brown bears. That's strange, isn't it? The further north you go, bigger, the things get bigger and more muscular. What do you think about that?
I mean, you got to think of the environment you're in. I mean, you're in a vast wilderness with heavy snow and places where a lot of stuff, like you said, the bear and the moose, and you have all that stuff that you have to defend yourself against. So I would assume that the animals would grow bigger and heavier in there to be able to live in that condition or that environment.
That's a very good point, because the more harsh the environment, the bigger you need to be to survive. That's just the way that usually goes, And but I find it interesting. It not only goes for animals like bear and moose and caribou and all that. Like in the South, we got your white-tailed deer. Look how much bigger the caribou are. The further north you go, the bigger these things get. But I think it's not only interesting that you can correlate that, but also with the size of Bigfoot, supposedly as well. That fathers the precepts of nature.
Well, I mean, if they really do have
now coming up here,
woolly mammoths or thunderbirds or all this stuff, then you would have to be pretty big to be able to defend yourself and survive in that kind of environment.
But here's the drawback to that, though, Gerald. The bigger you are, the more food you need to eat. And I would think the further north you go, the more, food sources would be available. Don't you think so?
Right. Yep.
Makes sense when you think about it. Yeah. Now, this chart's very interesting. The 10 states with the most missing persons. And look what's at the very top.
That's right. I mean, they say that, Alaska is 3 times the amount for missing people. And I mean, it's just, of course, like we just said, it's a harsh environment. So, I mean, the missing people could be locals, could be hunters, could be fishermen. I mean, it's just a vast array of people that go through the Alaskan Triangle.
I always think about that, being in such a harsh environment and everything. Very much like that Robert Service thing, the cremation of Sam McGee. It's the perfect place if you're going to freeze to death. Alaska would definitely be one place you could do it in very easily. There's a lot of stuff in Alaska, more so than other states, that will do you in quicker and certainly help you disappear. In some ways, it's a very harsh environment, like you say. And the harsher the environment, the more likely you are to meet some untimely and strange deaths. But I was going to say something about this chart. If you look at it very closely, most every one of those states has a large or have large cave systems. It makes you wonder if there's not some kind of connection with that, I think that there's a lot of correlation between Bigfoot and cave systems too. If you're the perfect place to hide and call home, if you want to really get away from other people, especially like humans, I would head for the caves, wouldn't you, Gerald?
Absolutely. I mean, just like we have the wildfires and stuff going on out west, I would assume that they would be hiding in the mountains or in the cave systems this here in the US. And Alaska would be prime for that. I mean, we talked about the Black Pyramid. Supposedly that's underground and has a tunnel system for that. And it's supposedly a secret US military base.
Yep. True. Very true. That's very interesting. That is definitely, if you want to disappear, go to Alaska, right?
That's right.
That could be one place to definitely do it. Yeah. And John Fulton says that's a great poem, Cremation of Sam McGee. That's an excellent reading of that. Thank you, John Fulton. And Sweet Pea says a good bit of the let me get that up. A good bit of the a good bit could be the environment. A lot of drugs and alcohol. People could wander off. There's a lot of different ways you could really disappear, or something bad might happen to you up there. Definitely. But you've got that sound of a situation everywhere you go. It just, but I think more so in Alaska because it's so strung out. I mean, it's so sparsely populated. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think that's why all the hunters and fishermen go up there, because it's really the wild frontier. I mean, that's what we have left for us in the US, is Alaska. I mean, that's got a lot of unexplored area. And I think a lot of people, want to go out there and hunt and fish and, do all this stuff. And, there could be a freak snowstorm or a cold snap, that dips the temperature. I mean, Alaska in the winter now gets down to 30 or 40 below zero.
That's true. I remember a very famous story. I forget who wrote it. It might have been, I can't remember now. Anyway, the interesting story that took place in Alaska is that the guy was going from one point in Alaska to some other place, and he was freezing to death. I mean, this very, very bad cold front came in, and he was actually dying out here, And I remember that he he had a husky dog with him, and they had warned this guy not to go out. They said because it was getting colder and all that. They knew some kind of a storm was about to hit. But being a hard-headed guy, kind of decided to go do what he wanted to do. But the interesting thing about it is, halfway to his trek, he decided to stop and eat some food he had with him. He had like a couple of biscuits stuck in his shirt, keep warm. And he took them out, and he knew he was in bad trouble when he went to eat his biscuits. They were froze solid, being up against his body, by the way. Okay, think about that a minute. And he sat down, and he was trying to, do what he could to survive. He was a very smart guy, but he just got in a bad situation. And the poor guy was trying to make a fire. And he was slowly freezing to death. And he's trying to make a fire. And about the time he gets this little fire lit, this tree bough over him releases a bunch of snow right on him, puts the fire out. And he says that I knew at that moment I was doomed. That was it for him. He was no way he was ever going to be able to start that fire back up again because he was freezing. And he wrote all this supposedly down, and they found it later on his body, his last little journal that he wrote, and this is, I'm doomed now. This is the end for me. I'll never get that fire going. But his dog survived, by the way. That dog lived. That was an interesting story. It might have been a true story. I'm not sure if it was made up of truth. I'd have to go back and check that out. But it was fascinating stuff. But that's the kind of a harsh environment that you're in. And the odds, if they stacked against you, you in big trouble. That's the way it goes.
Right. I mean, even the first people, that live in Alaska, the Inuits and I mean, we call them Eskimos, but they're really the First Nation, just like they have in Canada and everywhere, and Native Americans here. But they won't go out. They know when the storms are coming, and they know when to hunker down and stay. But people like us that go up there on field expeditions and hunting trips, we get caught by surprise, and it becomes very dangerous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I did a show with Cryptid Huntress is in here tonight. Hello, Cryptid Huntress. Good to have you here. I did a show with her the other night. If you haven't seen it, check it out, about dragons. And it's fascinating stuff. Check it out. It's on my playlist if anybody wants to watch it. We had a great show with that. But I was going to mention, maybe think about the ice dragons, supposedly. They live in the north, in the northern climes. Alaska would be, of course, the perfect place for ice dragons to exist in. But there are other things that are adapted to that. Like there are certain fox that lives up there, and of course wolves and the polar bears. I'll tell you something interesting about polar bears. Polar bears are fascinating. Polar bears are so smart, girl. They know they're completely white and mix in with the snow. They're white except for the black on their nose. And then when they go hunting, they'll a lot of times will put snow on their nose to camouflage themselves better. That's smart. Okay, but that's what it takes to survive in an environment like that.
Do you know the polar bear's hair is actually translucent? It's clear. It's not white.
Yeah, it is really sort of a clear, more so, but it's perfect for what it needs. The environment, it blends in so well with the snow and all that stuff. It's perfect for, and it shows you the great talent that things on this planet have for adaptation. Be able to adapt in places like that. That's amazing.
I mean, like I said, earlier, there's a whole list of cryptids and paranormal and woo. You got skinwalker, dogman, dinosaurs, woolly mammoths, Bigfoots. I mean, they even have stuff like the Yukon Howler or the Klondike Crawler. I mean, so they have everything up there in Alaska that we have here in the U.S.
Maybe just more so in certain areas. Yeah, you've got certain valleys in Alaska that some people have said a lot of people have gone into and never come back, that have a lot of mysterious legends and stories told about some of these areas, and about the like the Kushtaka. I don't know if you're familiar with the Kushtaka. Is a Native American legend that's prevalent up in Alaska as well. It's like a giant otter, a monster otter looking kind of a thing. It looks like it can walk like a man.
They have Otter Man up there. Yep.
Yeah, that's a wild thing. You got a lot of interesting stuff. Yeah, you got a lot of interesting stuff like that up there. It is a land of cryptids, absolutely.
I mean, they have accounts of little people. They have from the real little people to almost like the gnome looking size. And I mean, they just have everything in Alaska.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you got all kinds of weird. That's a lot of. It's a very large cryptid country up there. Absolutely, you got some very interesting things up there. I've always wanted to go. I've never been there. I always wanted to go to. I always want to take a cruise ship through the strait and all that up there. That's interesting. That's beautiful country up there. I knew, matter of fact, I knew a man once that actually took that cruise up there and came back with some fascinating pictures. Really neat land of snow and ice, but it also has a lot of wildlife as well, especially in the sea. You got a lot of the whales that go up there, and narwhals and all that stuff. So you got some interesting sea life as well.
Then just like we read in some of the books, you have the ancient mariners talk about sea creatures. So they have sea creatures out there too in Bering Straits and that whole area up there by Alaska.
Oh yeah. One of my most interesting horror movies was about a village up there where I don't know if you remember ever seen this movie. Where this ship of vampires docks there. And it's a perfect place for vampires, by the way, Gerald. You know, 6 months of darkness. You don't have to worry about the sun coming up. If I were a vampire, I'd probably hang out in Alaska, definitely.
I personally haven't heard of
6 months
any
of the year.
vampire accounts in Alaska, but there might be. I mean, there's skinwalkers and stuff up there, so you never know.
Well, you have a lot of Native American folklore and stuff up there. Absolutely. You know, a lot of times we supposedly get hung up on that term skinwalker, but it's shamanism in a lot of ways. These could be shaman or medicine men, as the old name used to be for them. They can have different names in different tribes, different cultures, but they still basically are supposed shape-shifting type witches of some sort. Basically what they are, something magical, a person that can tap into magical type of doing way of doing things. You know, you have a lot of legends and stories about that. It's fascinating stuff. Absolutely.
Well, you know, the
It's,
shaman or the
uh,
medicine man, you know, had the ability since he was in contact with the other realm or the spirits, especially of the Native American, you know, spirits or forefathers for them. He could actually form himself almost like a shift changer, and that's how you get skinwalkers, where it could be a dog man, could be whatever creature he determines that he needs to be at time, whatever he's doing. And they have this great ceremony that they go along with, and all this meditation that he does, and he can actually change form.
well, it's a big part of their religion, definitely. I mean, that goes along with their beliefs, their belief system, and the magic of the land itself is what they venerate in that as well. But a lot of them have that, you know, that connection with the land and its supposed magic or power of the land. It's fascinating stuff when you think about it. And if they're able to tap into these things, they can change even their very reality to the way they need to be. That is real magic. I mean, you know, that is very powerful stuff. And you can see why they would want to tap into something like that, of course. Uh, some are, of course, doing things for good, but then you have those that do things for bad, evil, revenge, or whatever the situation is. That's the stuff of horror stories and legends, definitely. But you know, that's the way it goes all over the world, Joel. You got people working for good, and you got some guys working for bad. That's just the way it goes. And if they tap into any kind of a power system, they could get things done, whether it be good or bad. But that's the way it goes, no matter what kind of people you're talking about here or what kind of culture. It still kind of runs through everything like that. Hello, Juno. Good to have you here, sir.
You
But
know,
it's
also
interesting. You
they
know,
have ghost ships, Dennis. There's a lot of supposedly
oh,
ghost ships that travel in and out of the Alaskan Triangle, because
yeah.
the triangle does go down into the islands.
Mhm. Yeah, that's fascinating. Here's another thing, Joe. When you talk about cryptids and weird things happening, most of the time, I don't know if you've ever noticed this or not, but it happens near large bodies of water, or water is present somehow or another. It's almost as if there's some kind of a real strong spiritual tie to water, whether it be ocean or lakes or whatever the situation. You have a lot of that in Alaska as well. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, there's life in water. I mean, we know that biblically, and we know, you know, the priests bless water; they make it holy water. So, and there we know there's elementals that hang out in the water. You know, there's water sprites and ladies of the lakes, and we have Loch Ness monsters and all kinds of stuff that are in the bodies of water. So it makes sense. I mean, it's one of the main elements that we attribute to, wind, fire, earth, water.
Have Hattie popping tonight. Hello, Hattie. Good to have you here. And Ida. Yeah, that is interesting, Jerome. Definitely. And something else about that is that I've always looked upon water as being the lifeblood of the earth itself. You know what I mean? And I think it has that powerful connection to it. And as we've always heard, the blood is the life. And that is definitely, I think, power to it. We know that water has a physical power. Look what it did to the Grand Canyon. We know water has a very strong power in itself. And like I said the other day on Jessica's show when we were talking about dragons, we live on a planet that is a living thing. Earth is a living thing. It's always alive. It's moving. The shifts, the plates are shifting. The wind's always going. The water's falling. The water's moving. This world is living. It's a living thing, and it has a power to it. One example, of course, is lightning. Lightning comes out of the earth and goes up in the sky and back down. It doesn't actually originate in the sky. Lightning originates on the earth. And that's how much power you're dealing with here. People don't really realize how much of a powerhouse the earth is that we're sitting on right now. It's amazing. But a lot of the ancient peoples knew this. They knew that power was there to tap into. You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, look at when NASA and them and scientists study other planets. What do they look for first? They look for water because that'll have signs of life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it's like, let me pull this up a minute. What Sweet Pea here says, I'm trying to get the show. I don't know if it will or not. But there is very true. Water does have a memory. That's been actually scientifically proven. I've talked about this before. But they actually did an experiment. They took, I think it was 10 ounces of water. And they put a half an ounce of arsenic in it. Mixed it up real good. And then diluted it. Okay. They would take out a certain amount and then add more water to it. And then they got down to the last part, and there was absolutely no arsenic supposedly left in this water, but yet they still showed a trace. No matter what they did, they still showed a trace of that. And they come to the conclusion that water actually was holding the memory of that arsenic. Although it was no longer there, it had a memory of it. And that's amazing to think about. And then when you think about everything that's around us right now, Gerald, around us where we're sitting right now is made up of water. How much of it is water? And how much of it may retain a memory? No wonder you have houses that are haunted and places that are haunted. Even if they have any bit of water or moisture in them, they have the capability perhaps to hold memory. In that respect, that's freaky to think about, isn't it?
Well, let alone our human bodies are mostly made out of water, and our bodies and our brain and nervous system runs on electrical impulses. And water is a very good conductor of electricity. So that would make sense that you would be able to hold a memory inside water. Our cells all have a memory to them. Our body has a memory to it.
Oh yeah. And look how much of the human body is water.
Right.
Sweet Pea says water is in everything. Crystals, atmosphere, could focus. Water is life, really. That's what you're basically looking at. It's just another form of life, another existence of life. And like I said, it's the lifeblood of the earth itself in that respect. To me, I have seen some freaky stuff happen around water. And, I find it very interesting how many people disappear around water and how many UFOs are seen around water. the list goes on and on with the water connection. Absolutely.
Water is a big thing in all of our lives.
Yep.
I mean, what's the first thing they do when you get sick and go to the hospital? They hydrate you. They make sure you have enough water and enough minerals and vitamins, and that's how you get it, is through water. I mean, if you go out in the desert, you start dying. You don't die because of starvation. You die because you become dehydrated.
Yeah, I was reading today, as a matter of fact, you bringing it up about what happened in Death Valley yesterday. Temperature got up to like 128 degrees, and there was a group of motorcyclists who were traveling through there, and one of them lost his life because of the heat. 128 degrees. Think about that, Joe. That's hot, buddy. And that is dangerously hot. And that would take the moisture out of your body very quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, even Arizona and out west, all those states out there, I mean, they get up in the hundreds every year during the summer. I mean, so they deal with that. I mean, this here recently, they were at 111. And that's Arizona.
And then John Fulton says it's interesting. The water crystals was shown to alter depending on what it was exposed to. Music, I think the experiment imagined the water molecules in our body are affecting the same. Oh, absolutely. We're so much of us is water, and it has a lot to do with our emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Absolutely, I agree with that. Yep.
And that's why our body is formed of water and crystals, and they do the experiments, the frequency and vibrations, how they make the shapes and the designs, in the water. And well, if our body is composed mostly of water, guess what affects us? Frequencies and vibrations. So if you're listening, say, to upbeat, good music, you're going to be in a good mood because that's what your body is forming. It's changing its molecules inside your body for the good. But if you listen to dark and slow and bad music, then guess what? You're going to become a bad mood. You're going to be in a bad mood, and that's what's going to happen until you raise your vibrations in your body. And it's all because of the water.
That's true, and another thing, water is a great conductor. It definitely would conduct vibration very well. Think about that. Frequency and vibration would go well with water. It's a perfect conduit for it. Absolutely. And look how much of us is water. There you go.
Right.
That's a big connection. Yeah.
I mean, that's how porpoises and dolphins send out their sonar, underwater, because it travels so well through water. And whales, listen to the sounds of whales deep down in the oceans. It all comes up because it travels so well through water.
Yep, it's a perfect media when you think about it. Absolutely. And what were you born in, Gerald?
I was born in water.
In water, yeah. And of course, one of the biggest spiritual symbolisms of all is water. It's being what? Baptized. Baptism in water. Water represents that life. Like there was that you once were in your mother in the womb.
Right.
That is still a connection there. There's still a connection. Absolutely. Interesting. Well, I'm going to warn everybody, okay? Make sure your insurance is paid up good if you head for Alaska. Make sure you leave your policies somewhere where we can buy it, okay? That is something to think about if you take a trip to Alaska. We hope you do come back, but you never know.
Yeah, make sure you hire.
Like we said it.
Make sure you hire a good guide and somebody that knows the frontier and the environment, just like you do out west. Here in the lower states, you got to hire somebody that's an expert and in that environment, and you'd have to do the same thing in the frontier up in Alaska.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you do anything like that, you need to have a very competent guide, somebody that really knows the territory you're going into. That is a must that you have that, because if you're not used to the environment, if you're not used to whatever that territory may be. That's the number one thing you need is a guide that will help you, or even a group of people. You would not want to actually go with 2 or 3 people. I would feel better if I were going to Alaska in a kind of a large group of at least 7 or 8 people anyway. There's more safety in numbers, but anywhere's like that now, not just Alaska. Anywhere that you may
Right.
go, you don't need to go alone. I've had that bad problem my whole life. I've been a lone wolf, but that's not good. That's dangerous to have that attitude. Always have somebody be in a group or have somebody with you, especially somebody that knows the terrain and the territory. That's a must. That can be the difference between life and death. Absolutely. And if you're going to go somewhere, the best thing to do is take a tour like that. You can go on a tour if you're going to Alaska. I would advise you to do that. That you will have a much better experience too. When you have
Right.
that working for you. Absolutely. But I mean,
Bring
right
plenty of
now tonight,
water.
if I were to head out in the woods right now tonight, Daryl, I'd want somebody. I want a group with me. You're much better off with a group of people than alone or with 1 or 2 people. It's much better that way. That way, you especially will not find yourself in the middle of a real live horror movie. Hopefully.
Yeah, you need to prepare. I mean, obviously, you need to read up on the subject and environment that you're in, and what whether, like we said, rations, food, water. Make sure you have plenty of water, because how many times we hear about people running out of water, and that's the number one killer.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just like with everything else. The right way and the wrong way to do everything. You want to do it the right way. Most of the time, if you do it the right way, you'll come out alive at the other end. And that's what you want to do. Chiro says just take it to the cryptid hunters. Well, yeah, I would definitely want her on my team. Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Especially if I'm in Georgia somewhere. I have done Bigfoot hunts in Georgia, and I was talking about that today. I've had some very interesting hunts over the years in different ways, and there were many times that I have seen Bigfoot, but only at a distance. I mean, through the trees or just a quick silhouette of it. There's been several times like that, but to actually experience a close-up experience, it's like what changes your perspective on a lot of things. But you just got to be careful the way you go about things. Like I said, there's right way and wrong way. You don't want to do anything stupid, because most of the time you'll end up paying for it very badly if you do. So you want to stay on the wise part of things. You want to do it the smart way. By the way, one of my aliases is Mr. Solo Lobo. Okay, there you go.
Solo Lobo. Wow.
Solo Lobo. Lone Wolf. Matter of fact, I don't know if I ever told you this, Earl, but my house actually has a name. There's a nameplate over the front door of my house on the outside. It's the Casa del Lobo, House of the Wolves.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. Well,
mine has Loco.
I figured if
mine
the
has
wolf's
Loco.
gonna be at the door, if the wolf's gonna be at the door, you might as well give him credit. You know what I'm saying?
Mine has Loco over the top of our door.
Oh yeah. What is it?
Loco means crazy.
Loco means loco. Oh. Mine's Lobo. Okay. I could be Loco Lobo, but we won't get into that anyway. Anyway. It's been an interesting show tonight. We really have, I think we traversed Alaska Triangle pretty good. Any final thoughts you want to give on that, Journal? What do you think about it?
Like I said, Alaskan Triangle, I think, is one of the most fascinating areas that we have of all the triangles. I mean, everyone has its own personality and aspects of it, but the Alaskan Triangle seems like it has it all. Missing planes, missing people, ghost ships, cryptids. I mean, it has everything in it. So I mean, that is one of the most fascinating places to study.
I agree. I agree with you completely on that. Although Alaska is one of the states of the United States, it is still very much like an old West territory. The days like it used to be in the Yukon back years ago, and in the gold rush days and all that. It's still kind of a wild area, definitely. And if you go there, you need to keep that one facet in mind. Be very, very careful and keep your head on the swivel kind of thing if you go in an area like that. Of course, that's true about anywhere. If you go in the woods, if you go in the park, be very careful. Keep your eyes open and be aware of things. And we don't want you to become a statistic and a disappearance to wonder about. That's one thing you don't want to end up being. Absolutely. But it's been a fascinating thing. Alaska definitely would be on my bucket list. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely the last of the wild frontier. I mean, it used to be out west, with the gold rush and all that, but now the last of the frontier is really up in Alaska. And it is really wild. They're just not saying it.
And one thing we didn't touch on, but everybody might know about this, but there is a very large HAARP facility in Alaska too, by the way.
Yes. And it's only 56 miles away from Russia.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go ahead and line this one up for the night. Another area of the road less traveled that we traveled. And I want to appreciate you all being here tonight. And thank you all so much for your comments. You know how much it means to us. It means a lot to us. And you got anything you want to say there, Gerald?
No, just tune into our shows, whether it's here on Dennis's channel, Hunting the Shadows, or if it's on Midwest Night Watchers, come over and check out our shows. And if you want to get a hold of me or Jane, just get a hold of us through MidwestNightWatchers@gmail.com.
We had some flaky reception tonight. We're going in and out, and I don't know. I think it may be the subject, and this might be us. They want to pick on us tonight anyway. But anyway, I want to appreciate you all being here. Like I said, we thank you so much. We thank you so much for your support and being there for us. And like I said, it means a lot to us. And now Wednesday night, I'll see you all back again for a little trip with Lady Baba Yaga. And I ain't talking about John Wick either, okay? We're talking about the original Witch of the Wood. You might want to check us out Wednesday night, 9 o'clock on Hunting the Shadows, Baba Yaga. Okay? And till we get together again, then, remember, Fortis Fortuna Advant. That means what, Gerald? Fortune favors the bold. Okay? And yeah, definitely. And we will catch you all on the next road less traveled. Have a good evening. Have a fantastic week ahead. Bye-bye.
Bye. Love and peace, everybody.